This is Governor Bob Ehrlich. Good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Well, it is the first week of September is in the books. September 5th, 2025. Pumpkins, you can't go a block without seeing pumpkin spice something or another. Where are my shamrock shakes is all I want to know.
Yeah, when they come.
You know, these pumpkin spice, yeah, it's
I mean, so look, Shamrock Shake is kind of a, St. Patty's Day thing, and so it's got a very short shelf life. And
yeah.
pumpkin season, it's the fall, early fall, even
Late summer.
even now late summer, because what we see Christmas stuff in July in the stores, right? So
Oh,
everything's ordered.
at the Macy's in Melbourne, a couple years ago when I was there in September, they had Christmas trees up in September, and this was, it's like you just jumped over Halloween and Thanksgiving and Columbus Day to go straight to Christmas, and it's, I believe in one season at a time. We should have our Columbus Day decorations up right now, little ships in the windows, people should be eating Italian food and stuff like that. And then after,
let's hear it for the indigenous peoples. Somebody's got to represent them. What happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you and I might be the few people that actually knew Native Americans growing up,
Yeah, I mean, we would call them American Indians, and
yes, we would dress up. People would dress up as Indians and cowboys and Indians, Sears did.
I mean, look what Susan said. It's one thing to start preparing. She's saying illustrations, layouts, right? Kind of get it going, so that you're ready to launch. Closer to Christmas. It's a whole nother thing when the Christmas trees, the fake wreaths, all those balloon, those blow up things and stuff like that, start showing up in your stores in July and August.
I think Costco's had some Christmas stuff out in July.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they
They
did.
had those. I think they had the giant candles.
So yeah. Look, I mean, the stores have learned that merchandising is all about it, and if they can get the stuff into the country, in July.
And I think this year they were trying to rush things in before the tariffs took effect.
I think there's still a lot of that. Yeah, that happened, and I think we're also seeing the end of all that pre-tariff madhouse rush, I think the inventory has been worked through fairly well by now.
Yeah, and by the way, Don, did you know this week Costco's now basically they had a grace period for they let even the non-black card Costco members go in at an hour early, but this time they decided that we're not now this week they just started kind of enforcing the black cards, so no white card Costco members will be in the stores this week.
I kind of like how you refer to it as the black card, because it does make it sound kind of more higher level. I know. I mean, maybe are you talking about like at the Wheaton Costco or?
No, it's all Costco. That was a Costco policy.
Yeah, because since they started that policy, the Gaithersburg Costco, they made it very clear that executive, members only to come into the store. And we were there today up in Gaithersburg just before 9:30, and the guy in front of us got stopped, and the guy goes, he says, "Please, sir, let me show you." He says, "You can come in at 10 o'clock." And the guy says, "I thought we'd come in at 9:30." He goes, "Well," he says, that's Saturday. So, the guy was, I don't know if he hung around for another half hour or not, but there are still quite a few people who are willing to hang out for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes that aren't willing to pay the extra $65 a year.
I am so glad that is worth its weight in gold. The fact that I can go in at 9, be out there by 9:15. I can actually browse. I'm not. It's like when it would open at 10, I still feel rushed because you got like a flood of people behind you, and by the time you get to the register, there might be a line. Now I can just go and it's kind of like it's nice. Not
it makes shopping at Costco so much nicer, particularly for the ones where you just had that mad rush, right, and had all those people flooding in. This kind of evens out a little bit, kind of the traffic flow, customer flow, and so I think it's a good decision on their part. I mean, it does give the executive members another, quote, perk, right?
Yeah, we didn't have that many perks before. I mean, other than getting the rebate checks every year, I mean, there really weren't too many perks,
Yeah.
It's not like we got special, I don't know, little Costco ornaments every Christmas or something like that. Nothing like that. It was,
Yeah, I mean, Sam's Club, they finally, when they have a plus membership, and they didn't really do anything specific with that at first, but now you've got to pay the extra money. You get to shop at 8 o'clock. Otherwise, you come in at 9 or 10 o'clock.
That's not bad. That is not bad at all.
Yeah, but the thing is that to me, Costco's the superior store. So.
Yes. I mean, also Walmart is not. I mean, Sam's is never as crowded.
Right.
Then again, I haven't gone to a Sam's in probably years.
But it will get crowded on a Saturday. Saturday is all bets are off. I try, So I'm not. I mean, I've been a Sam's Club member forever, for decades.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to renew come next spring.
I mean, Costco's now that they're serving Coke products that's just the icing on the cake. It's Coke products. By the way, this is the first time I've had an orange soda probably since we used to do the show live.
Well, good for you. You're doing better than I am, because it's like if I go to Raising Cane's or if I go to Costco and we're having lunch, I'm buying the meal that has the drink with it, because it's kind of like you might as well do it because it's cheaper than buying some of the parts, kind of like that. And we basically we go to Raising Cane's, we want the chicken. But then you figure out, you look at the menu and like, okay, well then you might as well just buy the whole platter thingy and just do that, and whatnot. Costco, hot dog and a Coke or hot dog and a Pepsi before, you can't beat that deal. I mean,
no, I mean even the pizza deal at Costco's is really good. But Domino's, for anyone who hasn't tried Domino's, their pizza's got significantly better than it used to be. right now, I tried out their $9.99. Any toppings for $9.99. You can have as many toppings as you want. I went to the Costco's. I was over at Goddard yesterday. I went to the Costco's by where the old Staples used to be across from Beltway Plaza. So I went in there, and I was there a few minutes early. So I just said, "Hey, let's see what people are raving about over at Aldi's." And I didn't think the prices were any better than they are at, say, Giant.
Oh, they're significantly better.
No, I saw it like Doritos were like $5 too there.
Yeah,
Bag of Doritos.
some. I mean, but yeah. Look, if it's name brand stuff, it's not going to be that much difference,
Mhm.
But they're just like Lidl. Their business is built around their house brand,
Mhm.
and that's where you save. I mean, my wife will text me frequently on Saturdays when I'm at the gym, and she's like, buy carrots, because they're cheap over there, and I don't
Mhm.
have to buy a lot of them. Whereas you have to buy a huge bag at Costco. I can get a smaller bag for her needs at Aldi at far cheaper than I can at Giant or Safeway or anything like that. So it all depends on people's patterns. I mean, and Aldi's going to continue to expand in the U.S. So
Well, I tell you, what's funny? You mentioned carrots. You know one thing I've noticed? Remember when I was a kid, you could buy carrots with the green leafy part on it, and they were in
true.
bunches.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now you don't see that anymore.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're
Remember
right.
radishes used to have the leaves on them. I just thought that just made them a little bit nicer. By the way,
Yeah.
I saw Giant sells peeled onions for like about 3 times the price of a regular onion. I'm like, do people still actually buy a pre-peeled onion? I mean, it's not that you just take it home and peel it and it doesn't. Yeah.
Just slap an organic label on anything, and you can charge 5 times as much. So
Yeah. Well, they were peeling the onions. Like they took all the layers, so it's just one base layer. And I'm thinking, like, is it that much trouble for people to take a knife and just skin the onion, so to speak? But
all right, Dwight.
let's
So
get to our
where's that
topic.
AI schedule?
I know that AI schedule. That's
I
why
knew this was going to blow up.
So let's start with that. Russia's war against Ukraine, 1,291 days. It's AI says we should spend 8 minutes on this, but I don't know. Maybe we'll go
Yeah,
over
you don't have
eight.
to do that. I mean, I think you can cover, stuff like.
Yeah.
I mean, really, where we're coming down to is just this show of unity between Russia, China, and India, and then the China parade and all this kind of stuff going on here. It's
You
like,
notice the Indian guy didn't stick around for that parade, or he wasn't in the pictures, one or the others. But
so
honestly, he needs to kind of understand where. I mean, you can't count on the Chai. I mean, has he forgotten Nehru's little alliance with Mao Zedong? And they had a war because Nehru didn't, and they were defeated in that war because Nehru was being, oh, we can trust the Chinamen and so on. Oh, can I say Chinamen anymore? Is that PC anymore?
only on this show.
I mean, there. Do you remember there was an episode? Speaking of, do you remember there was an episode of David Carradine's Kung Fu where somebody referred to him as a Chinaman? I'm like, he doesn't even look Chinese.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can't say that we called people back in the day that
Yeah.
go back to the All in the Family kind of stuff and all that.
Oh yeah.
Just you can't do that today.
Yeah.
At all. Well, here's the thing though about I mean what is India trying to achieve? I mean, are they playing both sides here, right? I mean, they're buying Russian oil. They kind of I guess they're reselling the Russian oil, but as well, I mean, they're helping to prop up the Russian army in essence against Ukraine, and yet at the same time they want relations with the U.S. And they're chafing at the tariffs that Trump continues to impose and increase on them for trying to do these end runs around the sanctions. if we could have squeezed Russia financially, it would have definitely helped. Though I don't think that Putin, plans to go anywhere. Even if he had little money, he was
And,
still going to figure out a way to keep throwing people at this thing.
and the bright spot on this whole thing is, in Trump's first term, he did convince the Indians not to buy Iranian oil. This is a thing, I think. Here's the thing. I think the Europeans want the Indians to launder Russian oil so they can have it. Because what's happening is it's going to India. Then India is now refining it and repackaging as petrol and selling it to the Europeans. And instead of this way, the Europeans say, hey, look, we're not buying Russian oil, we're buying Indian oil. But it's not really Indian oil, it's Russian oil. It's just refined for you, Why don't you buy oil from America, frankly? Well, you've got the oil, we can export oil, drill, baby, drill, right? Why is it that the Indians think they can do this, And frankly, I think they will come to their senses at some point. Because let me tell you, for Modi, this is what it means, okay? An unstable economy means his government falls and Congress will win the elections. And he will no longer be the prime minister. And it will be some socialist in the mold of Zoran Mamdani type person who will be the new prime minister. So, I mean, does he not want to be prime minister anymore? Does he want his party to go into the minority, become the minority party again? Does he? I mean, play ball with us and you'll be fine. You won't lose your title as prime minister.
Yeah, I mean, India's politics can be very volatile, right? I mean, how many assassinations have they had of prime ministers?
Oh, that's just the Gandhis. That's all the Gandhi lineage.
The Gandhi family.
They were like, and I tell you, they were like utter, really despotic. I mean, Indira Gandhi declared a state of emergency in 1977, 76, something around there. Because why? Her party was going to lose the elections that they were going to have. So hey, I'm just going to throw this state of emergency, suspend elections, so I can still be prime minister until my poll numbers go up. I mean, that is how pathetic. I'm surprised Joe Biden didn't do that. But they, they have that. I mean, the last Indian prime minister to get assassinated was Rajiv Gandhi, Indira's son. So I mean, it's just the Gandhi family that gets assassinated, frankly.
Yeah, but just if you got the name Gandhi and you run for politics and you get elected prime minister, don't count on a long tenure.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Rajiv Gandhi's son, wants to be prime minister, but do you really want to? It hasn't really worked out well for your family, Raul.
Mm.
But is that not a funny name, Raul? Yeah. You know what I think of? Yeah, I think of Fred Sanford's neighbor, Raul. Was that his name, or was that Chico and the Man that had a Raul? One of those shows had a Raul on it, and he was like this Mexican guy.
I don't know, probably Chico, but who knows? I don't. It would make more sense for Chico and the Man, but never. Anyway, but I mean, what?
Archie Bunker's place. Raul was one of the illegals that were working in Archie's kitchen.
Oh. He'd get raided by ICE today.
Yeah, speaking of All in the Family, not to continue this, but in the case of All in the Family, I was watching this YouTube documentary. Well, not a documentary, but this guy put it up, and he went back to the original site where Archie was supposed to live, although they changed the address. It wasn't 704 Hauser Street. And by God, I couldn't even tell the difference. I guess because they painted and fixed the front, but they showed where Archie's house was supposed to be in the opening of the show. And it didn't even really look that much like it, but that's where Archie was supposed to live. So. And
you know who lived in that neighborhood? Geraldine Ferraro.
Okay, that's right. I guess it would have been Queens. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, she's from that area. And our friend, the late Josephine Wang, she said her house looked just like Archie's house too. She grew up in Queens too.
Well, one of the famous, you remember The Odd Couple, that great show, The Odd Couple. They opened the scene where they're in front of the apartment house. That apartment house is quite a tourist attraction. People will go and get their picture taken out front. I forgot the address. I used to know the address, but it's Park Avenue. I looked it up. It's pretty expensive neighborhood.
I mean,
how Archie's a sports writer. he lives with a photographer. They must be making some serious money to afford that place.
But I mean, I don't you think that
Rent control, Dave. Rent control.
real estate in New York has just spiraled out of control?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was a point in time when it was much more affordable,
Okay.
but it isn't affordable anymore to the
Right.
average person, right? I mean,
Like the friends would have had to move to New Jersey instead of living in Manhattan because none of them had real jobs, except I think 3 of them had real jobs and made real money, but the others were a bunch of
but
locals.
Mandami's going to solve all of that. You know,
That is true. He will keep the friends in New York. The friends won't have to move to Hoboken. Although Hoboken, New Jersey is pretty expensive to live to.
Well, speaking of that, there's talk about Trump stepping in and getting Adams out of the race, getting Adams an appointment to something, and maybe trying to get Sliwa out, which helps Cuomo. But I don't know if Adams is going to get out. I don't know what should offer him. I don't know.
Adams is probably not going to get out. I'll tell you what. We'll win more seats with Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York than we will without him.
Hmm.
I mean, look. I mean, remember we have an article on our club site today of Abigail Spanberger. Basically, when we have Imagine This Scooby Doo, Winston Sears ripping off the mask, and it is Zoran Mamdani.
Yep. Yeah, she's horrible.
Archie Bunker's place is what it was, not Archie's place.
yeah. I mean, look. I mean, Mandami. I mean, if he does win the election, I think it's bad. It is going to be generally bad news for the Democrats because, the Republicans can try to use him as an example of how far left, the Democratic Party has gone, even though it's not the entire party; it's just a portion of the party. I don't know that even if you get down to a 2-man race, that Cuomo's got enough support.
I think even if it's a 2-man race, Cuomo still loses. Because remember,
yeah, I don't know.
Curtis Sliwa is not going anywhere. Curtis Sliwa is your iconic New Yorker. He rides the subway. He doesn't ride in private cars, like Zoran.
I mean, look. I mean, they're far out. The Republicans are far outnumbered in New York anyway.
Yes.
So he's got a very small number of people he's going to appeal to potentially to begin with, and then he might get a few disaffected Democrats.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it's enough to
see. His path is Cuomo, Edwards, and Zoran split the vote. The Ed Koch Democrats, the Rudy Republicans, and the Rudy Democrats, and basically the Susan Molinari Republicans all rally behind Sliwa, and that's his path to winning. But that doesn't happen if, say, Edwards drops out or Cuomo does pathetic against Zoran.
Talking about Adams? Adams?
Yeah, Adams, yeah.
Well, Adams, and he's drawing so little that I don't know would it make that much of a difference when he gets out. I don't know. I think if it were to...
Sliwa's doing better than Adams. Sliwa is ahead.
Right. I think if it did get down to, and I don't think it will, but if it got down to Cuomo against Mamdani, yes, I think Cuomo would likely win. But like you said, I don't know that Sliwa was going to get out, so you're going to have that issue.
Why should we hand bailout New York Democrats by giving them? I'd rather have Zoran there, so we can basically morph every Democrat running into Zoran. We can do commercials where you rip off the mask of, say, Wes Moore, and you find Zoran.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you're left with a choice between Mamdani and Cuomo, are you not left with a choice of kind of the lesser of two evils? You got the far left guy, and you got the guy who's not as far left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind
neither
of choice
one of these
is
are
that
like
for New
Ed
Yorkers?
Koch. Neither. I mean, Cuomo is not an Ed Koch Democrat either, frankly.
Yeah.
Then again, Ed Koch almost drove the city into the ground, also, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is part of the problem for the Democrats, though, right? I mean, is that they're more middle of the roadish, reasonable Democrats have been chased out of the party. They're pretty much extinct. So
Mhm.
this is an ongoing process. Part of the process of the polarization of the
Yeah.
electorate and the parties is that we now have we have more extremes and less in the middle. So you get to an election like this, now you've got the real extreme and the less extreme, but
Well, and
not
I
somebody who. Go ahead.
well also I'd mention a lot of people forget, and there was De Blasio. There were charges that he was basically a commie as well, because remember he was big into what was it, the
DEI.
Sandinistas
He
and their
used to be.
cause.
He was all about DEI. He was for
Yeah.
defunding the police. I mean,
Yeah, so
and
Mamdani probably is akin to De Blasio. I mean, they're probably similar ideologically. It's just Mamdani
and
ends up
don't be
saying
fooled by
more.
Cuomo either. By the way, Cuomo is the guy who, when he was governor, trapped seniors in nursing homes where they died.
Yeah.
And now he wants to be mayor. Can we trust Bill de Blasio as mayor if we have, heaven forbid, another pandemic? He'll just kill more old people. It's their way of killing old people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's still a sore point with a lot of people of how he ran things when he was the governor and everything like that. But I think David's got a good point there too about De Blasio. I mean, New York survived De Blasio years, uh,
Yeah.
but
But
what
this guy's de
Mondami's
Blasio on
doing is
steroids.
that he is throwing out proposals that are even wackier, right? I mean, a city-run grocery store and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Things that socialists, communists love, but won't work in a capitalist system. They are doomed to fail, and it'll cost the city a ton of money, and it won't work.
Would
You know,
you really want to buy groceries from a state-run grocery store? I'm just saying.
well, you sounds like you're going to be in the old Soviet Union or something like
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's like I'd much rather go to my Giant Food Safeway, or if you're in New York, Kroger's, and what's the other big shopping supermarket chain out there? It used to be A&P was big on Long Island, and Wallbonds was the other one, which is also basically just A&P's other name.
Well, Don
Uh,
makes a good point to sort of the tragedy of New York and all these major cities, that it's just become just out of reach for so many people and so unsafe. These were great American cities, New York and Chicago, wonderful cities, and
yeah, I mean, look at Washington D.C., Dave. You and I remember when Washington D.C. was a hellhole when
yes,
Marion Barry was the mayor.
yeah,
Uh, and then you had Anthony Williams, who
yeah,
was a Democrat, but he was actually a thinking Democrat.
oh yeah,
He got accused of gentrifying. I know a lot of people that moved back into DC bought
yeah,
homes in
oh yeah,
DC under Anthony Williams and Adrian,
oh yeah,
frankly. And
oh,
honestly,
absolutely.
Adrian Fenty, I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought he was going to be a crazy whack job.
Yeah,
But Adrian Fenty was not a bad guy. He was a decent mayor.
Yeah, he was for school choice, as I recall, right?
Yes,
He
Yeah.
and
supported the charter
Michelle
school.
Rhee. He had Michelle Rhee in his cabinet, I believe.
that's right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Okay.
Look. I mean, not all Democrats are really bad
yeah,
Democrats. I mean, some of them are actually. Anthony Williams he was a very pro-business
yeah.
mayor. I mean, it was.
But yet, there's a story about there was a meeting he was at, and he was putting all these. He was talking about tax cuts, and somebody said, "You sound like a," and he starts banging his fist on. I'm a liberal Democrat. He had to throw out that I am a liberal. I'm still a liberal, even though I'm doing all these things that's actually making the city better. The city had a surplus under Anthony Williams and Adrian Fenty. I don't think they have that surplus anymore. And Muriel Bowser is not as bad as Vincent Gray was, but she's no Anthony Williams or Adrian Fenty. She's kind of like if you take Marion Barry's wacky policies and you take out the steroids, that's what Muriel Bowser's policies are.
I think the worst mayors I recall, Sharon Pratt Kelly, was horrible because remember they didn't go broke. I think under Marion Barry. Well, maybe they did. I thought it was Barry goes, Sharon Pratt Kelly comes in, and then I think they have the real.
Actually,
finish.
Marion Barry set up Sharon Pratt Kelly to everything was a mess.
Yeah.
Remember, under Marion Barry, snow removal was a myth in DC. You waited for the spring thaw. Remember they used to, Don, do you remember they used to put those snow plows in front of garbage trucks? Because they didn't have snow plows, per se.
Yeah,
They
I
used
mean,
garbage trucks.
they had quite a few issues with the whole snow plows and the big storms we had.
And Marion Barry would be at a Redskins game. Every time we'd have a big snow, he'd be watching the
Yes.
Redskins in the Super Bowl.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And
He was like a Teflon, though. Nothing seemed to stick with him. I mean,
No, it didn't matter, did it? No, I mean, that's a whole nother thing too about Democrats, right? You can be Marion Barry, you can be Charles Diggs, you can,
Trayvon. What's his name? The guy that got busted.
White. Yeah, Trayvon White.
White. Got for bribery. I mean, it was basically bribery. And
he was reelected twice, and even if they throw him out, he'll run again and he'll get elected again.
It's like bizarre.
I think the council is now giving up on throwing him out.
I guess it's just weird.
Yeah, you can commit a crime. You can be indicted as a Democrat, and you can still win re-election. That happens to you as anything sniff of that as a Republican. Your history. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Bob Bauman, Dan Crane, Dan Crane, all these people, stuff. They were rising stars and doing well, and then boom.
Well, I tell you, John McCain is the only one that kind of dodged that whole thing. He was one of the Keating Five, and
that's true.
Nothing came of that.
Yeah, the Keating Five was a little more bipartisan.
No, John McCain was the only Republican. Everyone else was a Democrat. Deacon Cheney.
I'm saying it was bipartisan. I mean, they're he's Republican. There are other Democrats that get caught in all that kind of stuff, but
it's like 8 Democrats and 1 Republican. It's a bipartisan scandal. No, it's not. It's a Democrat scandal.
Although I was no fan necessarily of McCain, but I give him credit. He survived that one.
Yeah,
and he saddled us with campaign finance reform because he goes, well, I would not have broken the law if there was a law that's limited. I was like, shut up, John. I'm sorry. John McCain was one of them. I mean, look, let me tell you, Spiro Agnew's bribe was nothing compared to what the Biden family took or the Clintons took, frankly. And he ended up, and frankly, Watergate was not even a serious scandal. And you have people like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and Joe Biden still being president. They survive all these things. Barack Obama targeted nonprofits to go after. Now, if President Nixon had done that, they would have tried. They would have that would have been another charge and trying to remove him from office. And I don't know if you guys watched PBS's documentary they did on the vice presidents with Rachel Maddow was the host of it. And she was so condescending when she's talking about Spiro Agnew. She goes, well, we knew we had to get rid of Nixon, but we sure as hell couldn't leave Agnew in there as vice president to become president. It's like, you act like he was going to he had his little secret police force that was go out and arrest all you Democrats,
Yeah. I want to touch on something too that David was mentioning when we were talking about New York or talking about, safety, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this has become a big discussion with President Trump, right? I mean, he had the authority to call out the National Guard in DC, and he's threatened to do this elsewhere, but they got kind of rebuffed by the court on LA. They can keep those National Guard troops that are already there until they file their appeal, or they have up to a week, and then they'll have problem. But he was going to target Chicago and some other cities, but in DC, it's kind of working. I mean, there was I think Mayor Bowser said that carjackings were down like 87%.
Yeah,
but liberals always are just they're just incredulous. They can't give Trump any credit.
No, they can't. I mean, honestly, Trump could cure cancer tomorrow in Democrats. What took him so long? That's what the Democrats would say.
Well, I mean, there was a reporter for one of the networks, I think it was, and she's had her car stolen 6 times in D.C., but she's still railing against this whole National Guard
Yeah.
thing, right? It's like, yeah, but they're actually helping to lower the crime. I mean, they're doing a lot of other stuff. I mean, the National Guard, isn't just running around toting guns and looking all military and everything else. They do have other duties. They do desk duty and all these other things. Liberals are just, but they've lost their collective minds on this National Guard presence. I've got a friend or an acquaintance, whatever you want to call her. Uh, she and her husband are from Canada. I know that they're liberal, and she posted something on Facebook that I saw. I haven't seen much of her stuff lately, but she's a docent over at the Museum of the Bible, which is great.
Mhm.
But she made this comment about seeing all these National Guardsmen, at like the metro and stuff like that, and she says, all I could say to them is, I'm sorry that, kind of like you're not with your families. And so her friends are making these comments about like how they left DC after Trump got elected or something like that, and some other things. It's like, I was so tempted to chime in on this, but I know what's just going to happen with that. And I don't want to get into a bunch of arguments with a bunch of kooky liberals. But this is what's happening. It's like, oh, the National Guard, this whole thing is just Trump's militaristic stand. They're not doing anything. Nothing's happening as a result. But there are things that are happening. The media doesn't want to talk about it. But they would just rather say it's like this is just this presence that needs to go away, and stuff like that. I mean, Jeff Landry, the governor in Louisiana, said he'd welcome presence. Now, the thing is, if you're the governor of a state, Trump doesn't really have authority to call the National Guard into your state. It's the governor that can call up the troops. If Jeff Landry in Louisiana wants to fight crime or do something in Louisiana, call up the National Guard. You don't need Trump, for that. The problem is that we have a lot of blue states that need help, where the governors are not going to do it at all, and they have a dearth of police officers, that through the defund the police, things from years ago, that are coming back to bite them.
Well, here's the thing. President Lincoln did put federal troops into Maryland during the Civil War, if you recall. He arrested the state legislature from seceding. There is a history of presidents sending, federal, National Guard, federal troops. I believe we did not have a National Guard during the Civil War. I could be wrong, but we sent troops into D.C. and frankly, I mean not D.C. into Maryland. I think Baltimore. If I were Governor Westmore, I would say, can you send me about 2,000 National Guardsmen for my state tomorrow and secure Baltimore City? They talk about homicides being down, but you know what's up in Baltimore? Carjackings, burglaries, petty thefts, and stuff like that. I mean, you got
plus it's probably even really higher because they don't count certain things. Like shoplifting's become expected. So
let me tell you, I was over at Goddard last Monday, and I went to Safeway to get something because we were doing a little cookout over there at Goddard. So I go to Safeway, right? I'm walking in, and this guy, the security guard, is walking in. He goes, "Hey, you with the backpack, are you just going to ignore me now? What do you have in your backpack?" Basically, he saw him steal something, and it was and the kid's it's so brazen, just walking. Look, it's just another day. I'm going back to, It's like, really? And these security guards aren't even allowed to go. As soon as he got into the park, the cop just kind of stopped at the what do you call it, the area in front of the store. And I'm thinking, why can't you run him down and bring him to, bring him to his knees? Frankly, they'll never do it again after that, But it's like, the brazen of these shoplifters going into and I'm not sure, and I'm seeing this even at Safeways in Montgomery County, like the one in Kensington. I'm noticing a lot more police presence there. I'm also noticing that even in Montgomery County, where we were kind of immune from a lot of this stuff, the other day, going down Old Georgetown Road, Don, I saw a guy pushing a cart, a homeless guy. I had never seen that on Old Georgetown Road in my entire life. I've seen the panhandlers at the corner, but those are all Those are professionals. They're just professional panhandlers who are just going to work like we go to our job every day, as Chris Rock would say. They get up in the morning, go to work. At the end of the day, they come home and they probably have a couple $1,000s in loose change. By the way, do you think when homeless people have all those coins, do they just go to Coinstar and just convert those? But I mean, they lose. What is it? I think doesn't Coinstar take like 2% or whatever, or 1%
Yeah, something like
of your
that.
coins? Yeah, but that's it's just gotten to the point where there's no because they know they're not going to be prosecuted for stealing a bag of chips or this or that.
Yeah.
Don, do you ever see those signs at the dollar stores where they say we will prosecute for $1? And yeah, you'll prosecute, but you'll want to prosecute. But when the DA tosses the case out because somebody stole a dollar store pen or whatever, I mean, we need to get back to law and order at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as I generally like self-checkout at places, there are areas where it was terribly abused. So the stores, pulled them out because people were stealing from them
By
left
the
and
way,
right. And then the other customers were complaining about longer lines at the man checkout counters.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, sorry, but you can blame the people that kept stealing from the store for that.
but I think the Giant on Rockville Pike, Don. It used to be an old Giant department store there.
Yeah.
Okay. That Giant is faster to go through the human checkout than the what do you call it, the self checkout.
It depends. Everything is on a store by store basis.
And I hate Giant Food has the worst. I'll call it user interface for self checkout. There's not enough room. There's only room for one bag. So what if you got 4 bags worth of groceries? You keep where are you gonna put the stuff? Because then you have the thing yelling at you the minute you take a bag out and put it in your cart.
Yeah. But I mean, look, self checkout should, for speed, it should be limited to like 10 or 15 items max, and that's it. That should be the speedy checkout. Remember, we always had the express checkout for a long time?
Yeah.
9 items or less.
That's what it really should be replacing. People who've got fewer than 15 items or something like that, because they can move through fairly quickly. If you watch people at self checkout, some of them are just horribly slow. They can't figure out where the barcode is and all this kind of stuff.
Or the ones that let their kids do this checking out. I think it's really cute when little Susie is, Mommy, how do I do this bread thing? And then when she does, no, I want to do it. So she'll scan the bread again. So they have to call someone and say, hey, we actually scanned this bread twice. I say they should be forced to go back and buy another loaf, get another loaf. If you accidentally scan it twice, just go get another loaf.
Yeah, the worst thing for me at self checkout is the game I have to play with the bananas, because at Costco they wrap the banana with this plastic but the thing is that the barcode invariably gets wrinkled, right? And so you're there and you try to get the scanner to read it, and so then you try to see if you can find another barcode that isn't been wrinkled. Otherwise, you're sitting there trying to stretch that out so it can read enough of the barcode. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I give Sam's Club credit because one of the things that they do is that they have that scan and go feature. But I think Giant had been trying a similar thing in some other.
Well, I don't know why Giant is.
Where you go ahead and you scanned your own items, paid for them, and then it was basically verified. You would pay for it, and then you could just walk out.
But Don, do you remember when Giant Food and Safeway used to have the bulk food section?
Oh yeah. That was a long time ago. Yeah, the the big bins.
Yeah, and they had little stickers there that you just put on the plastic bag, and you could, and the people at the register would scan it because they didn't have self checkout that. But why don't they do that? I mean, I would love to just when you're buying cilantro or buying something, I'd rather just take a sticker, put it on the bags. And by the way, I don't.
You know what the problem is in general is that this is that people will look for the sticker with the cheaper item and stick that on there and then go through there, because the scanner is not going to be able to tell what you're buying unless they are forcing you to put it on the scale. But if it's a similar, if it's an item that weighs similar,
Yeah, like parsley and
but-
cilantro is about the
but
same.
costs less, then it will be pretty much undetectable. So people play games with that stuff. I'm sure that was probably an issue with the whole bulk foods thing, but we've gone through phases, right? I mean that whole
By the
thing.
way, I never liked bulk food. And I'll tell you why. Even though I never saw that, I bet some kid sticks their hands in the cookies and eats
Right.
it.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, the bulk food on candy or something like that, especially the unwrapped variety.
Oh yeah. Do you remember my friend John and his wife Seta?
Yeah.
They were she was telling a story. This is in Arizona where they live. She goes, she went to one of those, I guess it was an H Mart or an equivalent of an H Mart in Arizona.
They do have
And
them.
she goes, she saw some kid lick an apple and put it back, and she yelled at the kid. And she goes, the mother got all offended that I told her kid, and I told her, what if I bought that apple that your son licked? And she goes, don't you wash your food before you eat it?
Definitely don't be yelling at an Asian kid, because those Asian moms will just come right after you.
Well, I mean, Satan's Asian too. It's like, but no, she was saying the woman just started yelling at her like, and I'm like,
I don't know. Even if you wash it, I'm not sure I'd want to eat it. Really, I don't know.
Yeah, seriously.
That's why I peel my apples and peaches. I do not eat them with the skin on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just the very fact that we've got a bunch of stuff out there that is being touched by a lot of people as they, they're thumping a watermelon or whatever. But when you cut them up, I mean, you're not eating the outside of a watermelon. You're eating the inside of the fruit. So, but still, just the whole thing. But you could wash it, but I'm sure there are people out there that are a little bit paranoid. It's like, I am not buying anything that's not in a bag. Pre-bagged fruit or something like that. So I don't necessarily blame them, because you don't know what people are doing anymore. I mean,
well, I tell you, it's like common. Like I see people eating grapes out of the cart while and I'm like, they're not even clean.
Yeah.
Because, and this is before the point. Hey, you're making the grapes way less by the time you get to the checkout. Forget that. They're just not even cleaned. It's not. It's not like the old days. Remember they used to spritz the vegetables, like they'd wash. Like the red.
Oh yeah,
potatoes.
right. Yeah.
The red potatoes look so much better after they just sprayed them down. They look so much more appealing.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Now they got those automatic sprinklers, which I don't think they're as nice as the. Although I do like how they have like a warning chime right before or something like that. They like a rumble, a thunder sound or something like that before the sprinklers come on.
Hey, let's talk for a couple minutes at least about the jobs report, because this is the first jobs report under the new BLS director, right? You remember Trump was mad about the figures before, and these figures were absolutely horrible today. Anemic job growth. We lost adjusted figures, so we lost jobs in June, and things. It's like this goes back to the point. It's like it didn't really matter who's running the BLS. The BLS is they're gathering statistics, and they're collecting numbers, and they're trying to put them together and then tell you what's going on there.
Haven't you heard he's firing this guy and bringing back the old guy because he liked the old guy's numbers better than the new guy's numbers?
Right. It's like I know. It's like the woman who was in charge before. It's like, dang, her numbers were much better than my guy's numbers. But so in some ways I'm kind of glad that the numbers were bad, because it just points out the kind of the silliness of what Trump does sometimes. Is that I don't like this, I'm just going to replace the person. That's not going to make it all better, and you're trying to politicize something where the government is just you're hoping the government will just give you some numbers, some guidance as to an idea of what the heck is going on. Now this may lead to interest rate cuts here the next time around by 0.25% or more, which would be nice, but but this is going to be that continued delicate balancing act. No matter how much Trump keeps railing against the Fed, keeps railing against Jerome Powell, who's only one vote, on the whole open market committee, it's just that inflation is still stubbornly high for what, based on the target of where the Fed would like to go before they take interest rates down several notches. My colleague who went on the show that I do every week, he keeps spouting these numbers, and I'm like, where are those numbers coming from? Those numbers don't exist. He comes put out numbers of like 2.3%.
And
Like,
the scary
numbers
part,
exist. Okay, you're talking to me about 2.7 to 2.9, and you're right in the range of where we are, and we're kind of stuck. And
I don't know.
Tariffs are playing a big part of that. We are taking in money for tariffs, but it's a drop in the bucket to what needs to be done. And I understand what he's trying to do, but now I think we're starting to see the effect of tariffs. The slowing economy, inflation is not going down. It's staying right around that number and maybe going to tick a little bit higher. And we're seeing jobs just not there. The hiring is just not there.
And by the way, the good news is, well, good news, bad news. Let me give you the bad news. October's numbers are not going to be nothing to write home about, because that October is when all those federal employees that did the buyout or go onto unemployment rolls.
Yeah.
If they haven't found another job between now and then.
So the Republicans have got a challenge, I think, though, too, is that
here's the
you've got a midterm election coming up next year, and the economy better be in good shape, because
much better. I think it needs to be much better. We need to be unemployment needs to be around 2%, 2%, 1.5, 1.8%, or people will need to be able to feel the things are headed. They just need to feel things are going in the right direction, frankly.
Right. I think that's right. I think that's right. I mean, you don't have to necessarily bring unemployment down to 4% or below 4%. You don't necessarily have to bring inflation down to 2 or whatever to do it. You do have to have perception is often reality. If the people feel good and they have confidence that things are going in the right direction, you can get their vote. They'll vote for your party. They'll vote for you because they like the policies that are in place and they feel good. If they think they have more money in their pocket, bingo.
Yeah, and they can't. And then there's that government shutdown that's looming. Which
right?
Why can't you get something done? Why do you always have to play chicken at the end of the line? Is it so hard to get? And the big beautiful bill also has a new name, which I'm thinking that's about time. You need to market that better, because people were not too jazzed by it, frankly. And we can't. Okay, and also here's the other thing: the big bellwether is going to be the Virginia and New Jersey races. If we lose both of those, it's not good. It doesn't bode well for us going into midterms. And we've got President Trump's popularity is really high still, and this is where he can make, a lot of bold moves, and I think it's working. It's doing well, frankly. But we need to get jobs, and we've got the AI revolution on the cusp, so to speak, and that has the potential of creating many jobs. The big thing is AI prompt writing. That is, if you get really good at it, I think I've gotten really, really good at prompt writing for AI. I've got all my hodgepodge articles and pictures for a coffee table book I've been working on for the last 5 years. I now just throw those pictures into AI and it writes the captions for me. And then I modify the captions and this and that. But that is the next, gold rush, more or less. And yet we have,
if you get good at that, I think that this is part of the problem though too with jobs, is that we have a lot of graduates that have the wrong skill set. you've done computer science, and that used to be a gateway to a lot of good jobs, but you really need to, AI prompt writing is really, a bigger thing now. I think if you can't find a job in IT, computer science, whatever, you may want to think about going back and trying to learn how to do the AI prompt writing where there's jobs.
Yeah, and you don't need to go to school for that. You just need to, you could practice with the free version of ChatGPT or Grok or Quasar. What's Google's AI? Whatever Google's AI is.
Google has Gemini.
Gemini, yes. And then
Well,
you
I mean,
have
that's the thing too, is that there's so many AI, out there, and they do some things better than others. So,
and by the way, here's the best
ones.
thing. Like, sometimes I will have ChatGPT write the prompt for a picture and have Grok do it. And or have Grok write a prompt and have ChatGPT built it, And there's actually a thing you could actually do. Like you could say, well, ChatGPT, like when you ask Grok something, they go, well, GPT told me the grass is blue, not green. And then you have,
it's interesting. AI is interesting because I was testing something out today. I asked Gemini to write an article about public school enrollment decline and private school, charter school enrollment increasing from a politically conservative perspective. And the response was that it couldn't do it because it violated the safety concerns. It was a violation of safety. And like, this is amusing. It's like, okay, so to write something from a politically conservative viewpoint that talks about the why private school enrollment is going up and public school enrollment is going down, violates the safety, whatever rules.
However, ChatGPT would have done that. They would have given you an article.
It's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I thought that would be a relatively benign thing to write about. I mean, I wasn't looking for something that was going to outright eviscerate the teachers' unions necessarily, but however that thing is programmed and however that thing is learning is like, I wonder what else, if I keep saying politically conservative, it's just going to be rejected. I don't know. Maybe if I said politically liberal, would it get accepted? I don't know.
Well, I tell you, I can go to ChatGPT, and I'm doing this right now. I said, hey, give me the top headlines from the Washington Post today and a synopsis of each one. And it gives me these one-liners. RFK Jr. Defended his public health and political records during 10 Senate hearings. It talks about Stephen Miller's boosted role. Stephen Miller is an emerging key figure in overseeing enforcement of law enforcement controls, Washington, D.C., Trump influence. Then it also tells me about yesterday's, talks about how Florida dropped the vaccine mandate. By the way, that is a big thing, Florida dropping vaccine mandates for everything. So if you're in Florida, you don't need the chickenpox, measles, rubella.
Yeah, well, I got to say, I'm a little concerned about not having children vaccinated for some of those.
I agree.
Diseases. I mean, kids are germ magnets.
Yes, they are, and they always make you sick.
And I do believe that kids are a lot safer in school when they have been vaccinated for these diseases. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these diseases haven't been eradicated; they're just under control because of the vaccines. You just let them all decide that they don't have to get vaccinated. It's like, I don't know what you're going to get in Florida.
Yeah, and it's you can right now. By the way, we're just to kind of do this in real time just for fun. I told it to go write an 800-word in-depth summary of the Washington Post headlines, and it's doing that. I'm getting details on every one of their headlines now.
All right, we're out of time actually.
Yes, we are. We're out of time, and we did not stick to AI schedule. See, we just treat those as suggestions. So, final thoughts now. Dave, go.
Well, I wrote a column this week. You might want to take a look at it. It seemed a little obscure, but I think it's kind of significant in the state of Michigan, where there was a state Senate seat that's gone vacant the entire year, and the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, finally scheduled the special election, and it's not in 30 days, not in 45 days, not in 65. It is next year in May of 2026. So the people of the 35th State Senate District went the entire year without a representative. So I just thought it was amazing she got away with it, and there was never any real, didn't make the national news. The media talks about Governor Abbott and his dictatorial and anti-democratic ways, but nothing on Gretchen Whitmer there in Michigan. The state Senate without is 1918, and if they had the special election, it's a competitive seat, the 35th, and the thought is the Republican could win and be tied. So
Well,
Gretchen
1918,
Whitmer decided to hold it open.
See, Dave, Gretchen Whitmer is paying homage to World War I, 1918.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so my point is,
Doesn't
if
really
you'd
go
like
to 1990.
all right, so if you'd like to check it out, check out my column on that on Substack. Otherwise, things are going well, and football season started, so I guess that's a sign of fall. But otherwise, that's about it.
The Redskins will lose. Yeah. They will lose today, I think. I mean, on Sunday, I should say. I think they'll lose. But they're playing the Giants, but I think the Giants can pull it off.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not a fan necessarily of the Commanders because I like the Redskins, and when they went woke on me, I stopped rooting for them. But they're a pretty good team, so I think they got, and that quarterback is damn good, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he's fun. He'd be worth watching, I think.
Yeah, he's a damn good quarterback. He looks, not to take up too much more time, but the thing about it is that if you look at him, he looks so thin. It would seem he'd be so vulnerable, but he's playing.
Well, I tell you, yeah. But remember, if there's a way to lose, the Redskins can find it. The Commanders can find it. Although I've been spoiled, by the way, Don, for not watching football after Colin Kaepernick, that I had like 6 hours free of doing whatever I want to do on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going on 9 years now without watching the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I don't usually watch it either at all, but occasionally, but not really.
I stick with America's favorite sport, baseball.
Yep, that's right. I agree. Yeah.
Don, final thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say about David's column and everything about Gretchen Whitmer. But, the Democrats are such hypocrites. I mean, they talk about the Republicans and disenfranchisement. They have just done this big time in Michigan, and they don't. No one cares, which is just again, more hypocrisy from the Democrats. When we do it, it's okay. When you do it,
I put it up if that's okay. So.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Well, thanks. It is, not to interrupt, but it is amazing that it's just gotten very little traction. I was surprised. I didn't even know that until I read it in the Wall Street Journal, an editorial about it.
Yeah. All right. As far as I'm concerned here, we have, Google kind of won a big victory against the Department of Justice, and so they can keep their Chrome browser, and they'll still be able to pay Apple for being the search engine and stuff like this. This is one of the things that I thought was, under the Trump administration, we would not see the continuation of a lot of these type of things that happened under the Biden administration with trying to break up companies and go after them. They're still looking a lot like the EU in a lot of ways, but they're doing it. So the DOJ took it on the chin a little bit, and it's been good for Google. It's good for Apple. AI, as we've been talking about, AI has changed the whole thing. I mean, Google doesn't own search space. I mean, a lot of people now use Chat GPT and things like that to do their searches, and not Google. So, and the judge recognized that. So, I'll commend the judge for recognizing how the landscape has changed thanks to AI, and that when they tried to, when they were doing the stuff with Microsoft.
I remember I was working for Microsoft, the lobbying shop, when this was all going on. And, does anybody use Edge? I mean, I would. Does anybody use it? I mean, I use Edge for testing purposes, and that's about it. I'm not going to use Edge for anything else, even though it's still, Edge is also Chrome. The base is still Chrome. It's Chromium technology, so it's not like an IE anymore. But remember IE versus Netscape, you had all the people, the Netscape, the real player versus Microsoft, and Microsoft had the better products then. Now Chrome is better than Edge, so everyone's using Chrome.
No, I mean that's extremely true in there. So another thing too is that it didn't take very long, and some of you may have seen that, when Newsmax filed a lawsuit against Fox News, accusing them of various things about keeping them off other cable, systems, channels, and things like that.
Well, CNN did that with Fox News.
Well, the suit, the suit was dismissed today. So within a day, the judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the suit. She said they could refile under a civil complaint, but they called it a shotgun complaint. It was a terrible lawsuit. I mean, channels like Fox News, they have immense power, to go ahead and say, here are the terms to be able to carry our channel, and we also want X amount of dollars per subscriber and whatnot. And cable carriers are, they have to decide what the viewers want. But to me, Newsmax is, it's kind of like second-rate on the air talent. They've got a lot of refugees from Fox News that.
But this sets used to remind me of the old NET, by the way. The early days of Newsmax, they used to remind me a lot of old NET sets.
Yeah, right. And I don't think the production values have gotten better, but they don't match Fox News level and everything like that. I mean, and Newsmax going up against Fox News. Who do you think has got more lawyers and more money? I mean, this is just good luck with that.
Although remember, Newsmax is by our friend John Gizzi and the good people who used to run Human Events created Newsmax. I think.
Well, Chris Ruddy was all behind that, and so Chris has done very well with all.
Oh, Christopher Ruddy from the Pittsburgh Tribune.
Yep, Chris Ruddy created Newsmax.
I thought it was Human Events.
No, it was all Chris Ruddy.
Oh, because there's a lot of Human Events people over there, like John Gizzi.
I mean, they've hired a ton of conservatives. I mean,
they hired Matthew Foldy.
Look, I mean, the thing is that if you want a network that's really got conservatives, and maybe even extreme right wingers, Newsmax is probably your place to be. Fox News has got conservatives and a bunch of other people, right? So they're not going to be as hard right. I mean, they're still very pro MAGA, but Newsmax is even more pro MAGA. So and
then you have One American News. Are they still around or are they folded?
Yeah, no,
I thought they were like on Roku. They set up a new home on Roku or something like that.
One American News. I mean, they got bounced, right?
Yeah.
And so they were left without kind of a home. So it was I think maybe they're just doing their whole thing. Let me see here. So it says
their website's still up.
Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV. So so that you've got to watch it through.
So for all you people who think Newsmax is too liberal, go to One America.
Sling TV, Pluto. So so they lost their cable voice, but they do other things. To be honest, I think Newsmax, if they want to do things, they should be developing those type of things, streaming options, because people watch that. People are still cutting the cord on cable, and the audiences are dwindling. So that's
by the way, Don, I will tell you this. This is a much better designed website. Because have you gone to Fox or CNN? You think you're getting spammed with commercials for the minute you go there.
Well, yeah, that pays the bills.
Well, I mean, Fox News also has a lot of money coming in, but here there are not that many new articles. But I think they're using the same thing we use for the Montgomery County Republican Club website.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you go to the Washington Times site; it's just loaded with stuff, right? Ads and stuff. So you get a lot of clutter and a lot of
yeah,
a lot of
and
kind of
honestly, I don't like that. Like, look at this. This is Fox News. Here's a commercial that's loading,
right.
and and here we go. Here's some more ads, and we have another. This might be an ad or
But
more.
All right, guys, we're pushing 2 hours here.
lots of eyeballs. I mean, we would love to
Yeah.
have those same eyeballs. So
Yeah, I see. There's a lot like our theme here,
All right, guys.
but
all right, I
anyways,
have one more thing, and I'll turn it over
sure.
to you. And just that, so you've got 25 more days to get a deal on your EV before the subsidies go away. I don't know, David. I don't know if you saw the article in the journal about the EVs, but
Okay.
there was a dealership in Colorado. Colorado sells about 1/5 of all EVs in the U.S. that are sold.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. I had no idea.
And you know how cold it gets in Colorado?
Yeah, but people buy it, but what was interesting to me was just that. So the lease deals from this dealership, he says they're just, even the dealers, like, they're crazy because the manufacturer is the one who's kind of helping set that up. He said his rule of thumb before was that if your monthly payment was going to be 1% or thereabouts of the sticker price, you were getting a good deal. They have dropped below that. There's something called the Kia Niro, and they've got some deals as low as like $40 or $50 a month for that on a 36-month lease. And I don't know, you probably have to put $2,000 or $3,000 down.
Yeah, good luck driving
But
a Nero in those Denver
that's always part of it.
snowstorms.
But you're sounds like, wait a minute, I can drive an EV for 40 or $50 and put down like $3,000 or whatever it is for the next 3 years. It sounds pretty darn appealing.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but their cars are moving because that $7,500 credit is going away. So, but after September 30th, I mean, come October 1st, the EV industry is going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
And and then you'll see a lot of them gone. I mean, look at General Motors. Their EVs are not really moving.
Yeah, and Rivian just laid off a bunch of people, and
you can buy any color, any model Cadillac Lyric you want. You can drive away with it, but you can't buy any Escalade you want and drive off with it any color because they're just far higher demands.
Well, my wife and I were talking the other day. She was like, if Tesla made a kind of more standard or kind of a cool looking SUV rather than the Cybertruck, we'd probably be interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, the Model X is not really an SUV; it's a crossover,
right?
And I think what they. I mean, if you got, I mean, there's a EV9 that Kia makes, which is a really well-priced EV by Kia, and it's it's not a bad car. It looks nice.
Anyway, those are my things. Back to you.
Okay, my final thoughts. One, Sean Duffy did a great address this past week over at NASA. Awesome job. Talked about how we've got more money for missions. So Mars, here we come. We're going to the moon, and then we're going to go to Mars, and then off to Pluto and points beyond. We're going to become a spacefaring civilization, whether you like it or not.
How many years is it supposed to take right now to get to Mars?
A lot. I would say it's about a 10-year. Is it like a 5-year, 7-year journey to Mars?
It's a long journey. I know. I can't remember what the time was. It was.
Yeah. But remember, technology is getting a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better. And basically, it says it's 140 million miles away.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah, I mean, well, according to AI, it says typical 7 to 9 months. That's not bad.
7 to 9 months? Oh, that's better than we thought.
I know I thought it'd be years, but
Yeah.
no. But then they say factors affect travel time.
The 7 to
Mars
9
only
months
has-
is going to feel like 7 to 9 years.
Yeah. Well, so it says here Mars only has a 26 happens every 26 months, the window to fly to Mars. So,
Uh,
but it's kind of like preparing for that long drive across country. Yeah. Pray there's no rain the day we launch, but I think once we build that the Planitia shipyard above Earth, we'll be able to launch those warp 1 ships. Warp drive, you'd be there in about a day. Even with impulse engines, you can get there in a day probably, or 2. But Mars, and NASA has a clear mission. And unlike a lot of the other agencies, NASA did not get killed with Doge and all that. And all those people that are hanging around over the overpass to save NASA.
All right, guys.
You may want to change it to save Noah. Because Noah's the one that's in trouble. As well as there's parts of NASA, like the Earth Sciences, that are in trouble as well. Perhaps, but NASA in general is solid, and we're off to the races. Artemis 2 and 3 are fully funded, so we've got a lot of work to do. Then we build a moon base alpha, and they got to call it a moon base alpha when they do that, though. But that's and other final thoughts. I think this is the last weekend for the state fair in Maryland. Head out to the state fair. Dave, you should go to the state fair and with your books and kind of try and hawk your books out there.
Well, if they let me.
Do they have a Virginia State Fair? Do you guys have a state fair?
We do.
Is it in Richmond?
Yeah, outside Richmond, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been in years.
I mean, the thing about working a state fair is that you've got a booth and you're supposed to be there like every day for long hours. It's like,
Well, Maryland State Fair is only 3 days every week. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 3 consecutive weeks, opposed to the way it used to be 3 solid weeks, Which I thought that was better, frankly, because you go to the fair in the middle of the week, find parking, do your time at the Republican booth, and call it a day. But State Fair last weekend to go see it. It won't be around again until next year. So hurry up. You got 3 days left to go. Also, final thoughts is we are I think Don, we're coming up on 10 years of the Dr. Politics show.
wow.
Next year will be 10 years. We started doing this. Actually, no, this might be, let's see, when did we start doing this? Yeah, maybe. Actually, we might already be at year 10 this year. This might be our 10th year, or next year might be our 10th year. I want to say this is our 10th year because we started in years before the pandemic. It used to be Matt Foldy and I doing it at various restaurants around town, which is always interesting because we'd record and then we'd post it. Then we went to the whole studio model, and Ryan came on board. And then pandemic came, and we're doing the Zoom or Restream version of it, or StreamYard version of it. So, we've been around the block a few times, and, things are just getting better and better. I think our production quality has gotten a lot better. We're not doing 3-hour-long shows, Don, like we used to, if you remember.
Yeah, just 2.
Yeah. But that's all I've got. Good night, everyone. And we'll see everyone next week. Take care.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine